My name is Leah, and this is the Wicker Library. Welcome. It's very nice to have you here today. And today's video is just going to be very chill. I have my coffee here, and I'm going to be talking about all of the books I have for this semester to read for school. So this is a designated TBR video for the next 3 months of my college semester, and I'm taking 3 classes. So all 3 of those have books that I'm going to be needing to read, and I'm not majoring in anything. My college is quirky and cool. It doesn't have us declare any kind of major, but I am taking majority literature classes this semester. So I've got a big stack to read, and I'm not sure if I'll be putting out many monthly TBR videos for the next couple months because my required reading list is so large and that will be taking up a lot of my time. But I wanted to talk about the books that I have to read soon today because, I don't know, I thought that'd be kind of nice. So the first class I want to talk about is my literature course, Black Trans Studies, and it's a course I've talked about a bit in past videos of mine because I've had some books read recently for that class, such as The Deep by Rivers Solomon, which I loved, and I'll be talking about my wrap-up soon. But I have a little stack here of books for that class, and I'm going to be starting off with books for the class that are part of my thesis project of the semester in that class specifically. It's called conference work, and I'm doing a paper and literature review on akwaeke emezi, who is a favorite author of mine, and so I'm reading or rereading 3 of their books. One that I don't have with me yet is their memoir, Dear Senthuran, a Black Spirit memoir, which I'm so excited to reread because I fucking adored this book. I read it 1 or 2 years ago whenever it first came out, and it was phenomenal. And so I'm going to be looking at it through a very different lens this time around because I will be writing an academic paper about it, which I will not publish anywhere. I don't plan to, it's just for class, but I'm really excited to be able to kind of do a deep dive into their work. And I will be starting off with their memoir. And then I will be going to The Death of Vivek by them. And this is a book we're actually already reading for the class, and I've read this before. Again, really enjoyed it. I did read it on audio the first time I read it, so I'm excited to be able to reread it in a different format and annotate it and all that good stuff. But yeah, so this is the next book I will be reading. And then I have Freshwater by them. This was their first book that they published and was one that I read. It was the first I read by them. Is that true? That's not true. The first I read by them was Pet, but this one I enjoyed while reading it. Again, I read it on audiobook, so I don't think I grasped as much as I will this second time around reading it. Again, very excited for all 3 of their books that I'll be picking up, and just being able to do a conference project on one of my favorite authors of all time. I realized I didn't talk about what those books are about. I don't feel like it. So moving on to the next book I'm reading for that class is Redefining, Realness, My Path to Womanhood, Identity, Love, and So Much More by Jeanette Mock. And I have no idea about what this book is about, so that's why I'm not really explaining it. I believe it is a memoir, so that's interesting. Again, I'm picking it up for the class. I'm going in with no expectations at all, but I am looking forward to seeing what discussions this brings up in the course, and yeah, that's all I know about it right now. Next for this class, or the last 2 books for this class, are 2 poetry collections, and that is Dispatch by Cameron Awkward Rich and Hull by Xandria Phillips. And all I know about these 2 collections is that they're collections of poetry, and we're reading them in a Black trans studies class, so those are probably themes that will come up in the class, or in the books, I should say. So yeah, I am not a huge poetry reader, but every time I have read poetry, I've mostly enjoyed it. So I've never read poetry in an academic sense. I've only ever read it for myself, so I'm curious if that will hinder the experience of reading these or emphasize them and expand the experiences and make them better. We shall see, but I probably won't be getting to these until a couple months because they're last on our syllabus. The next class that I have required reading for is called Science Fiction and the Victorian Novel, and this is another class I've talked about briefly in past videos of mine, but this class takes science fiction books that are more recent-ish and then compares and contrasts them with Victorian novels of the past. And we've read things like Carmilla, Jane Eyre, Never Let Me Go, a bunch of interesting little books that I will definitely be talking about in my next wrap-up. But I have a large stack for this class. And the first book, which these will not be in order, I'll be reading them. I just have a stack of all the books that I need to read for the class. But the first I have here is Watchmen by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons. And this is a graphic novel, or it's a collection of comics. Have no idea whatsoever about what this is, but it's a big ass book. It's a very large book, but I'm excited because this is the first graphic novel I will be reading for a college course, and I'm curious how we will pick it apart in class. But yeah, this is the first book on this section of the list. Next, we will be reading The Man in the High Castle by Philip K. Dick. I don't know what this is about, and I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it. I have a feeling that with the Victorian novels or the older classics, I will be reading them on audiobook and annotating them on paper, just because Victorian novels can be so dense, and sometimes I need it in a different medium. But this is one of those books. I don't think it's a Victorian book. I think this is one of the science fictions, and it's alternate history, and that's all I know. So we shall see how I enjoy it. Next, we have a book by an author I don't really like. I read the most famous book by her. I didn't really enjoy it. I'm not really looking forward to this one, but whatever. It is Oryx and Crake by Margaret Atwood. I don't like her very much. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna love this book, but I got it very used and I have to read it for class. So we shall see what I think about it, what thoughts I have, what the class will think about it, what the professor will say about it. I have no idea what it's about. I just know I really disliked The Handmaid's Tale, and in interviews and talks with the author, I don't really agree with a good amount of the things she says, so I'm going to go into this with a semi-open mind. But yeah, that's that book. And finally, the book I will actually be reading this month, in the month of March, for this class, North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. I just know this is a Victorian novel, and I know it's apparently a love story. That's it. That's all I know. That's all I'm going into. So again, it's a thick ass book. These pages are really fucking thin, and the text is abysmally small, and it's heavy. So I will be for surely reading this on audiobook format, just because I know myself, and I'm just gonna want to be able to read this on 2x speed at one point. But who knows? Maybe I'll be surprised, and maybe I'll eat it up, and maybe it'll be a new favorite. An open mind. Keep an open mind, Leah. Now, for the final class I am taking this semester, it is titled Family Caregiving Throughout the Life Cycle. It's also kind of retitled The Ecology of Caregiving, and it's one of my favorites this semester. I'm taking all three of my classes I'm enjoying a lot, but I really am interested in disability studies and caregiving in general. And so yeah, that's that class. And I only have 2 books I am reading for that class, and it's because I'm reading them for my conference paper / thesis. Depending on where you go, it's called something different, but at my school we call them conference projects. So I'm doing a project on caregiving representations in fiction, and so the first book I will be reading for that project is Living in the Land of Limbo. It's fiction and poetry about family caregiving, and it's an anthology, and it's edited by Levine, who is someone that came into our class to talk and is close with the professor, so that's kind of cool. I like that. But yeah, this is just what it says, fiction and poetry about family caregiving, and it's a big book. Like, respectfully, I don't know why it has to be this big, because like I have irks with large books like this because they're kind of difficult for me to read, but this is the first book that's part of that project. Now, the final book I'm going to talk about today, and the last book I have to read for this project, there might be more that come up, but that is Disfigured on Fairy Tales, Disability, and Making Space by Amanda Leduc. And I'm so excited for this book. Look at this. Look at the difference there. This is a rather small book, and this is a rather large book, but like, wow. This book is a collection of essays, I believe, on disability in fairy tales. And so although it's not immediately related to caregiving, I just know that caregiving will probably come up in it, and I'm curious. I've been curious to read this for a long time, so it's kind of just an excuse to read this. But I'm curious how these 2 books will create my project, if that makes sense. But yeah, those are all of the books that I have currently to read for class and to read over the next couple of weeks. If you enjoyed this video and this type of video, just sitting down, drinking coffee, chilling out with me, feel free to subscribe, because I have a feeling I will be filming lots of videos that are just like this. But thank you for watching, and yeah, I will see you in the next video.